Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing a little bit more Best of One with the Kaladesh Remastered set. Gonna make the most of this set while it's out, at least as much as we can. So, I don't know about you guys, but I have personally been getting non-stop ruffle stomped by Aetherworks Marvel. So, today we're going to be playing a deck that can hopefully not get ruffle stomped immediately by Aetherworks Marvel, and maybe ruffle stomps them. Who knows? But today we're going to be playing around with my favorite artifact, maybe of all time, in Magic Arena, and that's going to be Paradox Engine, a 5-mana legendary artifact. It says whenever you cast a spell, you untap all non-land permanents you control. So essentially, with this out, we're going to play something like a Mind Stone, and then all of our other Mind Stones and our Guardian Idols and our Power Stone Shards are all going to untap and allow us to play another spell with that mana. We can tap it all, play another spell, and then hopefully we're going to be netting mana that way as well, so we can keep playing spells along the way. We don't really have a big X spell to play off of, but what we do have is Karn the Great Creator. This is going to be our way of trying to beat Aetherworks Marvel, essentially. It's a 4-mana Planeswalker. The passive is how we shut down the Marvel. It says activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control cannot be activated. So this will also, in the mirror, shut down our opponent as well, so we could get some easy wins that way. It does come at the cost of being a card you don't really want to see in an aggro matchup, so we're probably going to lose a lot of those if we don't win in time, but we can gain a little bit of life and potentially combo off just in time if our aggro opponent is a little bit slower. So, Karn the Great Creator is both our way of not dying and also winning the game as well, because you may notice there aren't any win conditions outside of Crawling Barrens in the deck. I guess you could call Karn the Great Creator's Tick Up a win condition, since you can turn an artifact into a creature with a base power and toughness equal to the CMC of that card. So something like Paradox Engine becomes a 5/5. If you've got Forsaken Monument out, colorless creatures get +2/+2, so your 5-drops will become 7/7s. Again, another way we can win the game that way, but it's very, 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 very unlikely that that's going to be the case. 9 times out of 10 we're going to be winning with the combo finisher from Karn's -2 going into the sideboard for a wish board. Playing in Best of One, so we can use all the slots available to us to do whatever we want. The win condition is going to be my second favorite artifact of all time, Aetherworks Reservoir. You form an artifact that says whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn, and then you can pay 50 life to deal 50 damage to any target. So, in combination with the Reservoir and the Forsaken Monument, once we're comboing off, we're going to be gaining a lot of life. So we do need to untap and tap and untap with Paradox Engine repeatedly, which requires lots and lots of spells to be cast at the same time. So we have a few ways of gaining card advantage and allowing us to do that. In the early game, we've got Chromatic Sphere and Maze Mind Tome. Chromatic Sphere being one that can just sack for mana. A little bit extra, actually. If we've got the Forsaken Monument, we can pay 1 and tap it for 2 mana. And then we get to draw a card off of it, which is kind of nice. We also have Maze Mind Tome, which has a few options. Can keep us alive. It does have a gain 4 if we use all 4 tome counters on it. But what we're probably going to be doing is trying to at least use it to draw cards, or scry to find our combo pieces if we are in the early game. Remember, if we draw a card off of Maze Mind Tome and then we cast it, we're going to untap Maze Mind Tome, opening up the draw a card effect again, so it's really nice for that, but it has finite uses, of course. Speaking of finite uses, Mind Stone is going to be our 2-drop. These are really important, the Guardian Idol and the Mind Stone. Very important at keeping us in the game. We're going to want one of those in our opening hand, so they both add colorless mana. This one enters the battlefield tapped, but it can become a 2/2, and this one comes in untapped and can be sacrificed to draw a card, which is kind of nice, again, allowing us to continue the Paradox Engine loop. As far as big normal mana rocks are concerned, we have Power Stone Shard, maybe top 6 artifacts of all time, I don't know. Adds colorless for each artifact you control named Power Stone Shard. So for each one of these, it's going to add 1, then it's going to add 2, then it's going to add 3, which is pretty awesome. We've got a Sculpting Steel in here as well, which can be, if we want, a 5th copy of Power Stone Shard. Otherwise, it can just be a mana rock, if that's what we're dealing with. Or in the late game, we can use it to copy Mystic Forge, which is not a legendary card, even though it feels like it probably should be. But the Mystic Forge is our way of guaranteeing, or near guaranteeing, that Paradox Engine is going to win us the game. So it's a 4-mana artifact that allows us to look at the top card of our library at any time, and we can cast artifact spells and colorless spells from the top of our library. Our entire deck, minus lands, abides by that rule, so as long as we've got a card that is not a land on top, we can actually cast it and then use our Paradox Engine to untap everything, and pretty good there. You can also pay 1 life to exile the top card of our library, so if we do that and then there's a card on top, we can play that. It will untap the Mystic Forge, allowing us to basically have protection from whiffing, so like if there's 3 lands on top or something like that, we get to go a little bit deeper by playing any artifacts that we have maybe in our hand, and then dig a little bit deeper through those. As we mentioned, we've got Mind Stones and Chromatic Spheres to dig a little bit further as well, so there's a good chance if you have a Mystic Forge, a Paradox Engine, and a Forsaken Monument out, and you are untapped on your turn, you've probably won the game. Finally, we do have Hedron Archive. Again, it's kind of like Maze Mind Tome, but a little bit bigger. We really want to focus on these early game mana rocks, though, which is why it's only a 2 of. But yes, Khan the Great Creator being a 4 of, it's going to be our win con and our way of not dying. So the minus, we're going to go a little bit into the sideboard. Not too much to say about it, but there are a few cards in here that are quite important to discuss. So the one that we mentioned earlier is that Aetherflux Reservoir is in our sideboard as well, so that we can win the game that way. Without our Khan, we're not going to win. So, you know, this is a little bit of a fragile glass cannon-y kind of deck, but there are a few situations where it will be a glass cannon anyway. If our opponent can deal with Khan the Great Creator immediately, we're probably dead anyway, so, you know, we don't really have time to care about just losing on the spot, because if we take the time to care about that, then we'll just lose on the spot. So, we just basically put our sideboard, our win con in our sideboard, can't get Thought Seized or anything of that sort, which we can actually get back, because we have 3 copies of Buried Ruin to return artifacts as well, so if our opponent mills over a Paradox Engine or something like that, we can use that. We also have 1 copy of the Mystic Forge in here as well, so if we have our Khan, then we have our way of digging through the deck, which is really nice. Perilous Vault is kind of a panic button. It allows us to exile all non-land permanents. Probably don't ever really want to be doing this, but if the opportunity presents itself and we really have to, then it's nice to have anyway. Godfarer's Statue is a really good one. This allows us to tax our opponent's mana, making their spells cost 2 more to cast. I've actually won the game a fair few times on this card alone, because some decks are similar to ours and they care about storming off, so playing multiple spells in a turn. So if you make their spells cost excess amounts of mana, then they really can't do that, and we win on that sense as well. And then there's also a life loss on the end step as well, which is probably not going to be relevant, but it's there anyway. We have Meteor Golem to take care of our opponent's opposing Khans. Assuming that they've locked out all of our mana rocks and prevent us from comboing off, we can minus with a Khan to get Meteor Golem, use that Meteor Golem to kill their Khan, and then hopefully from there we get to pop off with our Paradox Engine combo. So we're going to try and build up our combo, use this, and then, you know, get to use it. We've got Platinum Angel, which says we can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So in situations where your opponent is playing something like Blue-White Auras, for example, which has no interaction at all most of the time, a 7-mana 4/4 that says you can't lose the game is going to help us win the game, essentially. We can have all the time in the world. It doesn't matter how big our opponent's life total is, we should be able to deal with them with a Aetherflux Reservoir just easily enough with a Platinum Angel. So, you know, Blue-White Auras, really going to struggle with this one. We have Ratchet Bombs in case our opponent is running a token strategy, or if they're running Spyglasses on our Khan so that we can't get our win conditions, by the way. Spyglass is in here to kill opponents. You can use this actually to stop the Marvel if you really want to, but Khan will be doing that on its own, so you'd only really want to do that if you were in a situation where Khan is probably not good enough, so they've got creatures in play, for example. Sorcerer's Spyglass, naming Aetherworks Marvels, one way to do that. Also, typically you use this to actually name Planeswalkers so that they can't ult, tick up and kill and do all that kind of nonsense. We've got a little bit of card advantage, a little bit of removal, and a little bit of protection. I think most of this speaks for itself. Oh, there's a tiny little bit of life gain in here, should that really matter. If we're on a very, very, very low life total, we will go for a Navigator's Compass. Again, it's one of those panic button kind of situations. You probably don't want to grab it, but it's there. And then finally, Tormod's Crypt exiles graveyards, because graveyards truly do matter in this world, so we can exile our opponent's graveyard, leaving our own intact. It's also free as well, so we can go from turn 4 straight up eat our opponent's graveyard, gets rid of their Croxes and their Uros and whatnot. And yeah, if we really need to get it again, we can Buried Ruin it back. The mana base is pretty simple. It's all colorless lands, and we're going to be using the colorless lands specifically because Forsaken Monument cares about colorless permanents being tapped, so these end up becoming soul lands essentially, which is really nice. All of them going to be tapping for 2, and there's a few things you can do with them. Blast Zone is removal, Buried Ruin is artifact recursion, as we've mentioned. Crawling Barrens is a way of defending ourselves and also winning if it comes to it, probably not. Cryptic Caves allows us to draw a card. Inventor's Fair is a new one from Kaladesh Remastered, gives us life every upkeep if we've got 3 or more artifacts, which, you know, if everything's going well, that should hopefully happen. You can tap it for 2 if you really want to, but the main reason you want this card is for the 4 and tap. You get to search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library. So we're going to want to try and do this on our end step, grabbing probably either a Paradox Engine or a Forsaken Monument or a Mystic Forge. Whichever one we're missing, we're going to go and want to grab that. We can double up our mana, which is really nice as well with the Forsaken Monument, so should be cheap enough for that. And yeah, then we'll go off from there. We've got Radiant Fountains for life gain, so we can have a little bit of protection against the aggro decks. And finally, Zalfarian Void, because we are a combo deck, and we get to scry and find our combo pieces, so hopefully we don't have dead draws, which we really can't afford to have, since we will be dead if we do. And yeah, that's essentially the deck, I think, without... No, actually, we've got some packs to open. Let's do that. I think this Theros is actually gems, unless it's a mythic. Even then, I'm not quite sure. Ooh, no, it's an Idyllic Tutor. Ah, yes. I didn't need one of those. Zendikar Rising. Let's have a look-see. Should be plenty fine on here. Ondu Inversion. Okay. Fine. Acceptable. And then finally, Kaladesh Remastered. What do we get? Verdurous Gearhulk. That's actually a pretty good one. It might be a bit too slow in today's day and age, since, you know, it's a 5-drop and you lose on turn 3 these days, so, you know, who knows. But yeah, without further ado, if you do enjoy the content, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you get notifications when videos go live in the future. And without further ado, let's carry on, shall we? This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, we're in with a 1-lander. 1 land is a scry land, so if we found a second land on the play here, we'd have our Guardian Idol, then we'd need another land in order to Karn our Mystic Forge. It's kind of really risky, but I don't care. So, let's do it. Would you look at that? Alright. So if our opponent is playing Marvel, which usually they are, then we can play a Karn nice and early. That's the idea, at least. We do want extra mana here, I think. If we can just go land Mystic Forge, that'd be quite nice. Looks like I can. Maybe we want Karn. Karn can also grab Mystic Forge. We could grab Sorcerer's Spyglass as well, since they're on something. Couldn't tell you what they're on, but it's something, alright. You know what, let's do Mystic Forge, because if we get a land, which we can set up with the Forge, we can play the Paradox Engine. Yeah, we certainly don't need third Karn. I don't think there's ever really a situation where that's a good thing. Hard cast Bone Crusher. Alright. Well, I did want to upkeep stop that, but... fair enough. So we're not going to be going for Paradox Engine this turn. But we can try and set up, yeah, the land drop. With a Blast Zone, and then we can do Maze Mine Tome. And see where we can go from there. We don't really have any mana rocks in play, which is kind of annoying. Paradox Engine doesn't do much if it doesn't untap much. Narset of the Ancient Way. Yeah, so our opponent's on Jeskai control. I think it can be said without any question whatsoever. I'm not sure we've got a silver bullet in our deck for this list, necessarily. We can spyglass things, but if we don't spyglass 5 mana to fairy, then we're just kind of not going to stop our opponent. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Hedron Archive. That's the card we want to see. Forsaken Monument. So let's just play the Monument while our opponent's tapped out. Then we can play Guardian Idol off of that, gain a little bit of life. This will double up our mana and make our Paradox Engine just that little bit better. We can even scry that other Monument away, unless they go for a 5 mana to fairy here and get rid of it somehow. We'll have to see. I guess you want to actually Mystic Forge it more than anything. Okay, so they tick up and play Bone Crusher. Shock in. Let's hope for a tap out from them. If they tap out, they lose, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they can win if they can't counter our spells. Jawari's Disruption's not going to do them much good. Negates would be pretty good, though. Since we do desperately need Paradox Engine in play. And we're kind of incentivized to do that first. Perhaps they're just bluffing with a Stomp, though. Third Stomp's unlikely, but still possible. Land drop. We don't really want to use Mystic Forge's tap, I don't think. Well, actually, yeah, Buried Ruin's pretty good, because it means that if our opponent does counter Paradox Engine, we can just grab it back. So let's go 2, 4, 6. Let's play Paradox Engine. Gain 2 life. I think we can win from here. I'm not sure how much mana we've got left over, but... Pact of Negation, wow. Okay, so they've got to take their entire turn next turn to stop that. So let's just return Paradox Engine. We've already made our land drop for the turn, haven't we? So 5... This doesn't let me do what I need to do, I don't think, in order to win. But our opponent has to tap out completely anyway, so maybe we should just go for Hedron Archive here. Into Paradox Engine. We can Inventor's Fair for the next Paradox Engine when they tap out next turn. Bone Crusher my face. And this is a tough spot, because we do have enough for another Chromatic Sphere, if we can find it. I don't know whether it's worth doing, though. We're taking... it's probably worth doing. Guardian Idol. If we find it, we untap and win on the spot. If we don't, though, we're in a bit of a weird spot. So, they've got 8 damage here. They're tapped out. They've got 1 mana to spend next turn. So the worst thing they can do, I think, is Spell Piercers. Or Shockers in the face. Just going to ult their Narset, even though they won't ever get to use it. So now we're going to go tap, making 17 mana. Good lord. Alright, we'll draw a card here, because we can. Untap Chromatic Sphere, which untaps the entire board. We don't really want that land. Don't really want that either. Let's go with... Oh, forgot to QQ. It's alright, there we go. Enough mana, it won't matter. From here, we're going to minus Khan. I think we'll go for Mystic Forge first. Let's tap that, get rid of the Zalfarin Void. Play the Mystic Forge. Untaps everything. This allows us to go so much deeper into the deck now. We'll draw a card. Another Paradox Engine's totally fine. We'll play it because, you know, we don't really want to whiff. I guess, actually, we don't really have a chance of whiffing, so let's just take it off the top. Yeah, let's just then go with Power Stone Shard. I don't think we can whiff. I think it's impossible. At this point, I should probably go next Khan and get my win con in play, which is going to be Aetherflux Reservoir. There it is. QQ. Play Aetherflux Reservoir. And then now we just start playing everything off the top until we win. 30 life. We can... Actually, no, sorry. We'll go Mystic Forge. QQ. Play Maze Mine Tome. Gain 1,000,000 life. Draw a card. Take that card off the top. Play Guardian Idol. Up to 49. QQ. Play Forsaken Monument. Gain a load of life. Up to 61. Keep whatever. And then we go and find our Aetherflux Marvel. Oh, Reservoir, sorry. Still got that on the brain. And then we hit our opponent for 50 for the win. Nice. Nice. Alrighty then, on the draw. Turn 1, Chromatic Sphere, turn 2, Maze Mine Tome. After that, double Power Stone Shard with the Sculpting Steel. Seems fine. Gonna go Swamp. Alright, so we're just gonna get down the Chromatic Sphere and pass. Gifted Aetherborn. Alright, so it could be like mono black aggro, which is definitely gonna be a thing. For sure. That is a card we want. It is a little bit at risk of being thought seized, but we want that card nonetheless. Gonna take our chances on that one. After that, what we need is either a Khan or the Mystic Forge. Either one of those would be totally fine. So we're gonna go down to 18, it appears. Yep. Opponent passes, wow. Well, I hope they're not planning on holding up and removal, because they won't find an opportunity here. Let's go Power Stone Shards and pass the turn. And do some toming during this turn cycle here. Won't do it until the end step, just in case they thought seize my Paradox Engine, then I'll want to find either a Buried Ruin or another Paradox Engine. Dread Presence. Okay. Let's card draw for their swamps. Let's have a look, see. Well, there's Buried Ruin. At this stage, I don't need it, because I've got the Blast Zone for my 5 mana on the Paradox Engine anyway. And I guess I might as well just crack this sphere now. Yeah, we're taking the turn to... Oh my god. It's a tough one. I think we're going Paradox Engine first, because this is more important than the Monument. The Monument's going to double up all of our mana, but at the same time, the Paradox Engine's going to untap all of our mana, so it's hard to say which one's better. at any given time. Alright, Dread Presence, double land is a lot of damage, but it's not going to be enough to win here, which is what they really need right now. Yeah, I think even going above 50 life won't help them. Take 5 down to 7. That does allow me to untap. Do I need that though? It's a redraw. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's just take that. Alright, we gain life from the Inventor's Fair, which can be any artifact we want at this point as well. So we're definitely going to want to tap our Power Stone Shard. And then this is going to... I think we want to go Sculpting Steel first. Yeah, Sculpting Steel. Untap the Power Stone Shard, become a copy of Power Stone Shard. From there, we can tap these for 5. Untap with a Forsaken Monument. Then we can tap. We can go Hadron Archive. Gain some life, untap. Queue it all down, we're going for it. Go Maze Mine Tome. I guess I should be drawing with the Maze Mine Tome as well, actually. So that I can make good use of all this untapping. Draw with the Maze Mine Tome. Digging for something we like here. There's Khan. Khan should just about do it, I think. Tap, tap. So Khan goes into the sideboard and grabs Aetherflux Reservoir. We tap, tap. Untap everything with Reservoir and get it into play. Tap, tap. Chromatic Sphere untaps everything, and then we use all of this card draw here to find more ways to untap and win the game. We're at 32, so I mean, we're not really going to lose. Let's draw a card. There we go. Alright, tap everything, untap everything. We've got enough mana now that we don't really need to tap, but it's just a double QQ away from being good enough anyway, so might as well, right? Crack this. That's a Forsaken Monument. Might as well play it. Legend rules, but gains us loads of life anyway. Puts us up to 55, and I don't think our opponent can 5 us out of nowhere, so let's 50 them. Alright. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. Okay, on the draw, we have all the tools required to win the game, essentially, already in hand. They can be Thoughtseized away, but you don't really want to play around Thoughtseize by mulliganing the cards that you want away. So we're just going to go for it. Zalfrin Void for turn 1. It's tough, but I think I'm going to say bottom to that. And then we'll play the Chromatic Sphere here. We're going to bottom it because the Buried Ruins can get me back Paradox Engine anyway. Interesting choice from our opponent. It's like maybe a red-black aggro deck that is not Pyromancer. Yep, we're going to go with Maze Mine Tome here. And then pass. Next turn, Power Stone Shard. Turn after that. It's either one of these, isn't it? I think we still want to actually influence the top card of our deck, even though we know what we're playing next turn. Whirly boy. Yeah, you might want... I think you want Paradox Engine in play first if you can help it, otherwise you might need the life gain off of the Forsaken Monument. I'm really looking for, like, Radiant Fountains at this point, I suppose. Oh, thank you, Magic Gods. You've been cruel to me for a while, so it feels nice to finally get recognized. Okay, so then we pass the turn. I don't think we want to crack our Maze Mine Tome anymore. Like, Mystic Forge is a card that we really want to see, but I need the Chromatic Spheres, I think, and the... Well, we can crack the Chromatic Sphere, I suppose. I need the Maze Mine Tome triggers, I think, to keep drawing off of a Paradox Engine so we can combo properly. We're not going to have too much time in which to actually build this up, so... I don't think it particularly matters about keeping a Chromatic Sphere around. So let's just redraw it. There's a Maze Mine Tome, okay. Three, 6, 9. We could just lose. It's entirely possible, but if we don't lose, we win. I think that's the situation here. We really don't want to see our opponent use their mana to burn us in the face. Perhaps that would mean... Well, we couldn't really go Forsaken Monument into something anyway for the life gain. So if we can't gain life off the Monument, then it's just better to go for the Paradox Engine and just hope that we don't die. Because it looks like we've got every tool we have in our hand right now to win. Yeah, Lightning Strike. Takes us to 11, and I have a hard time seeing how we're not dead here. Exaxes. Rip. So close. We actually had the win. And they had an Abrade as well. Wow. I mean, they set up lethal and then they just rub it in with an Abrade. You're a good person, aren't you? Fun at parties. Probably doing dailies, let's be honest. Dailies kind of dictates everything you do in this game. Which is why Mono Red's so popular, even though I'm sure half the people who play it don't actually like it. But it's one of those things. Just arena things. Hashtag. Alright, on the draw, worst place to be. And we've got Mana Rocks to a Forsaken Monument to a Karn, so we're going to keep this one. Looks like we're up against Aetherflux Marvel. Well, early Karn's going to be pretty good. We'll want to do our best to keep that around for as long as possible. It's nice to have a spare against this deck as well. Oh no, it's actually the mirror match. So we don't want to see Karn from them, but a Karn from us is pretty brutal. A top-decked land means that we get to Karn and shut off all their Mana Rocks, which is a real big deal. Crack the Sphere to draw a card, to play a Glintness Crane. Okay. And a Prophetic Prism. They're playing a very different version of this deck. It has spells in it that have colours. Alright. So let's just do Mind Stone then. We'll try and go for a land drop, I suppose, off the Sphere. Wicked. Alright. So 6 mana. And Forsaken Monument. So, Karn's not a instant lock here, because they do have the Glintness Crane attacking it, and then they can also get an Ugin to Lightning Bolt it on a tick up into an eventual ult. So, while we do get to slow our opponent down quite a fair bit with our plan here, we still need to actually find a way of winning. Mystic Forge. That works, I think. Alright, so we're going to go Monument here. And then play Karn. Good game. yeah, if you don't have another Karn, then it's kind of hard to win. I mean, if they Karned us, it'd be the same situation, really. We'd have to... Well, there wouldn't really be anything we could do. Karn just is a silver bullet against us. We lose on the spot, I'm pretty sure. We could put a Meteor Golem in the sideboard, I suppose, for that reason. Yeah, I think a Meteor Golem's probably a good idea. Just so that you can hit their Karn and combo off from there with your Paradox Engine stuff. But yeah, I guess I'll put that in the sideboard. Good game, I think. 3 minutes, including wrap-up time. Wow. Alright, on the play, this looks like a pretty sweet hand. It has none of our win cons in sight, but it has pretty good enabling for the late game, and obviously Forsaken Monument is one part of setting up a victory, I would say. It's definitely not a requirement, but it's sure as hell very useful to have. So we're going to go turn 1 Fountain and Chromatic Sphere, and see what we're up against. Hopefully it's not Mono Blue Tempo, that would be miserable. Got the Karn in case it's the Marvel deck. Guild Globe. I suspect we're in a mirror match of sorts, which really makes me want to go Karn here. Yeah, Karn I think is really just useful and might make our opponent scoop. And then we'll just tick up. Could get in for 1, I suppose, with a Chromatic Sphere, but they had 2 blue mana open there, so it's kind of a little bit sketchy. Alright, so let's go Forsaken Monument. And then now we can actually tick up on the Chromatic Sphere and have a 3/3 to block the Foundry Inspector. Aetherflux Reservoir. Alright. So, I need to not die. I suspect maybe they're playing eggs with a paradoxical outcome. That would make quite a lot of sense. Let's minus Karn. Could play a Meteor Golem and kill the Reservoir. Could get our own Reservoir and try to go off. Could Spyglass Reservoir, but then we can't win. Except for due to, like, other beats. I actually kind of like the idea of a Godfarer statue here, actually. If they're going to try and combo off with eggs, let's just make all their eggs cost a lot of mana. And then we can go Mind Stone, gain 2, play Maze Mind Tome, and then hope to be fine from there. Yeah, I think we just pass from here. Opponent loses 1. I suppose that's one way we could win, with 1 damage beats from Godfarer's statue, but I'm going to go ahead and say that's unlikely to happen. Opponent plays a Golden Egg, gains 1 life. So yeah, they're getting cost reduction by 1 on their Guild Globes by the Foundry Inspector, and then they're getting taxed for 2 by the statue. They also can't use anything while Karn is around, which is very relevant. I'm going to draw a card here. Another Karn. Alright, so we're just going to tick up and hit our opponent, I think, with a 7/7 Monument. You don't win this way very often, but this looks like it might be the way we win. We still have a Guardian Idol to block with as well. Guess I could draw with Maze Mind Tome, see if we can find Paradox Engine. Let's do Maze Mind Tome. Gotta make sure not to use my Guardian Idol and its mana so that I can block the Foundry Inspector. If I unlock my opponent's artifacts, it's going to be a real bad time, I think. Let's go 2. Let's play the Guardian Idol again. It is 2 to activate, isn't it? It is. Alright. And then we'll go Maze Mind Tome as well. Sorry, Maze Mind Tome, Mind Stone. And we'll pass. So we've got a 4/4 Guardian Idol ready to block Karn the Great Creator. Block for him. Opponent plays a 3 mana do nothing. And this will be where they concede. Because that was a really bad attack from them. Yep. Alright. Yeah, the Karn version of this deck is pretty damn good in the mirror. It can probably come back to bite you in a certain few situations. Like, it's really not that great against aggro. You'd probably rather have something like, I don't know, maybe a blue version with Whir of Invention might be kind of interesting, but yeah, still managed to get him. Pretty good. Alright, on the draw. With a slow hand, actually. Sculpting Steel doesn't hit anything. Hedron Archive doesn't come down until much later. I think this is a mole, even though you really like to have Khan against a Marvel list, which is, for some reason, the only thing I ever see these days. Yeah, we'll just go with this hand, I think, instead. This is an early Khan, if it matters. We'll go with Zalfrin Void. There's a lot of draws we don't want here, so setting those up nice and early is definitely good. A Hedron Archive is actually something I want. Because if I don't need Khan, I could go Archive instead into Maze Mind Tome. Yeah, I guess that's okay. I'm guessing I'm gonna need Khan, though. Realistically, because I think this is Tomb of Marvel. It's a swamp. Never mind. Alright. Well, hopefully it's not control. I don't really feel like being controlled today. We'll put you to the bottom. Play the Guardian Idol. See if we get censored. We did not. It'd be real nice for you to tell me what you're doing. Alright, play Blast Zone. We'll play the Hedron Archive. We're keeping our really important stuff until later. Yep, there's a sensor. Alright. So it is blue-black control, and it's draw-go control as well, which is my personal favourite way to play control, but also one of the worst plays. One of the worst kind of controls to play against. It is so miserable when your opponent literally does nothing but react to you at all times. It's more a case of what their hand looks like than what yours does at the end of the day. So yeah, draw-go control. They just probably drew 2 counter spells there, which is all he really needs. I don't have an uncounterable spell in my deck, so I'm just gonna have to keep card advantage going at all times. We actually have 6 mana. It's not really gonna let us do anything. Could play around Censor, but at this point they've got double counters, so maybe a draw from Maze Mind Tome. I'll play Mystic Forge here. We do have a Buried Ruin we can get it back with. And this is the ultimate card advantage that our opponent will just have to counter. Totally fine. Just really hoping they get impatient by me doing nothing, and then they'll slap down a threat without counter backup, and then we can maybe counter our combo off from there. And that's the hope. I think it's unlikely though. They seem like a pretty good control player, all things considered. I hear when it wants to tap the Power Stone Shard. Why would you want to do that? What reason does this have for tapping itself? 2, 3, let's Power Stone Shard. Because you miss out on 1 mana when you do what our game was trying to do to us there. Let's draw again. Let's play Mind Stone. Just keep passing the turn. I'm trying to set up like multiple must counter threats in my hand while they're doing nothing here. Got a ton of mana as well. I think you want to get Blast Zone on. Well, there's a Noxious Gearhulk. This is kind of what I mean. Our opponent's got an Impatient and we can punish it now. So let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forsaken Monument. And then we can go Mindstone, Buried Ruin. Well, actually, we could get Mystic Forge with Buried Ruin. How much mana do we have? This costs 2, so we'd be at 6. We could play... Does it net me mana to go Power Stone Shard here as well? I'd have to use one of them. So that'd be at 2. This would be 8 mana. Oh my god. Yeah, our opponent, I think, realizes we're working out how to combo off there, and they just decided that they didn't really want to deal with that, which is totally fair. Khan the Great Creator, I don't think grabs as much in terms of dealing with our opponent's current board state. We could name something like the 5-mana Ashiok, I suppose, with the Sorcerer's Spyglass. Could even just go grab Mystic Forge out of the sideboard with Khan. But you really want to use him to get the Aetherflux Reservoir most of all. But yeah, I think getting Mystic Forge down there was definitely what we wanted to do. Don't be like our opponent. If you are playing Draw Control, if you're an impatient player, it's not the deck for you. Our opponent lost patience. They played a 6-mana 5/4 do nothing, and then they lost because of it. It's as simple as that. I imagine they've got counter magic in their hand, so there's really no reason for them to do that. But yeah, good stuff. Alright guys, well that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed, and if you have, make sure to support the algorithm and the channel by hitting that like button, subscribing, leaving a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the deck and what you're playing in Historic right now that beats Aetherflux Marvel, because I'd really love to know, because that card is really not fun. But yeah, if you have enjoyed, like, subscribe, do all that shenanigans, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.